This week in PlayStation, we're talking about our PlayStation year-end wrap-ups, our favorite PlayStation games from the Game Awards, and our impressions of God of War, Ragnarok, Valhalla. That's right, we'll have all this and more because this is PS I Love You XOXO. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. That's Blessing. That's Janet. I'm Greg. And you can get PS I Love You XOXO over on patreon.com/KindaFunny. There you can watch us record it live, get it ad-free, and get dozens of monthly episodes of exclusive content. If you have no bucks to toss our way, no big deal. Support us on the Epic Game Store, Fortnite, Rocket League, or Fall Guys with the creator code KindaFunny. You can get PS I Love You XOXO for free with ads and without the exclusive content on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames and podcast services around the globe. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Jackson Hampton and Delaney Twining. Today we're brought to you by X-Real, Z-Biotics, and BetterHelp. But let's start with a PSN message from Janet, Blessing.
Oh,
Greg,
hello.
You survived the Game Awards. Congratulations.
we made it.
Yeah.
You survived.
I did as well. Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. There's no doubt
Also-
on my end, you know.
Thanks to people that came out for the meetup that me and Bless did.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
awesome. You guys had quite the meetup there. Where was it again?
It was at Carl
Ooh.
Strauss Brewery.
Nice.
Yeah, it happened right after the Giant Bomb Game of the Year live show.
Sure.
And it ended up being perfect because there was the fear of, oh, how many people are actually coming to this thing?
Yeah.
Because Janet hit up the spot beforehand and was like, hey, like just a heads up, we're doing like a little thing there. We're going to have
Just a
people come
little
through.
thing.
Yeah, and Janet was like, oh, yeah, we'll probably have like a few dozen people. And they're like, all right, cool, that's it. And then as time went on after that, I just started to get very anxious and was like,
When
oh,
Giant Bomb moved to a bigger venue and like you
Yeah.
started really talking about how many people were coming to this
Yeah, because I was like, well, it's Game Awards weekend. It's also LA, and also Giant Bomb's doing their thing right beforehand. So it was everybody from the Giant Bomb thing going to migrate over. Thankfully, it ended up just being a couple dozen people.
Turns out not many crossover fans.
Yeah, exactly. I like one or the other. But yeah, no, it was a really, really great time. Right now, Barrett's pulled up a picture of the full crew that was there. And shout out to everybody that came through. It was very lovely talking to people. It was my first meetup that I've done as part of KindaFunny. And
Yeah.
so it was nice to actually like
Same.
just be in a room full of people from the KindaFunny audience and hanging out, and it was a very good time.
I want to shout out particularly Isaiah, who's just kind of in the corner staring directly into my soul.
Yeah, he does that.
Highlight of the picture for me.
Yeah, it's funny because they were walking over as we were taking this photo, and there's a photo that we didn't post of Isaiah like mid-stride. And when you zoom in,
yeah.
it's giving like that Bigfoot evidence photo.
Also, shout out to Michael Hyam for taking the picture.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
What a homie.
What a homie.
Yeah, indeed. You ready for your PSN message?
I am.
It's not a PSN message. We were talking earlier this week. The PlayStation wrap-up finally posted. Of course, this is where you can plug in your PSN name and get all your stats from the year. Blessing, we started going into it a little bit on Games Daily, and we said, no. We should dive into our PlayStation wrap-ups when we're actually on the damn thing. Janet, what do you think of PlayStation wrap-up?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm just like a big fan of the freaking analytics of your life.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like a crossover of like nerddom and also like self-absorption that
Sure.
I think a lot of us don't want to admit we have, but like that's the reality. It's like, ooh, what have I been listening to this year? What's my top game? Like I live for all of it. It's just like a fun little thing, and like you don't gotta do anything. You click on it, you get to see what other people are playing. I think it's so fun. It's like one of my favorite little things for the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan as well, and I think, one of the things I like a lot is on this one, if you haven't done yours, ladies and gentlemen, of course, you can go to the PlayStation blog, get the link there, jump in and do it. It's all automatic. You get in there, of course. What I think is one of the cute ones is, it tells you the first page tells you how many games you played, but then your first game, which is an interesting one, right? Because like we all like time capsules, and for me, it's always the weirder statistics, and they do a great job. We'll get to it. They give you a monthly breakdown, your top five, all like that is incredibly smart, I think, because I'm more interested. Like I know I played the most Diablo, I get it, but like my first game this year was on the 3rd, which is interesting. Didn't play on New Year's Day or the 2nd, but on the 3rd I booted up Monster Hunter Rise for PS5. And so that's on there. I was like, hell yeah! All right, I forget. And again, in any given year, let alone this year packed with video games, I'm like, right. I did play like 20 hours of Monster Hunter Rise at the beginning of the year. Blessing, what's
Can
your
I-
first game? Oh, sorry, Janet, what do you got?
Wait, real quick, can I point out like the dumbest, pettiest thing ever? Barrett, if
I
you
love
could
it.
pull up that picture you have of like your little card. So they like have them shareable as vertical, which is interesting. I will say most content is going definitely vertical for like this Instagram stories, TikTok, whatever. I do wish they gave you different formats
Yes.
to download. But also, if you look really closely, has anyone else noticed they have rounded corners, but they don't like make the background transparent? So it's just
yeah.
white? What is
Because like I couldn't figure out how to download these, so I just screenshotted it and then like cropped it.
no, when you download them, I think they're like that too though. Because I downloaded mine.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. I'll dig into
tried
this
to
very
download and it was just
unimportant
like,
thing.
Yep, yep.
No, I like, again, we like the minutia. We like getting hung up on the unimportant things. That's a great one to get hung up.
Yeah,
that's
I'm like
definitely
90
par for the course of what we're doing here for sure.
Ooh, hold on. Let's see. I'm pulling up mine. Oh my god, I have this stupid wind.
No, yeah,
roar
mine
thing
is
that
straight
opens-
from it, and for the
Yes.
one that I put up, yeah, and it has the white corners.
Yeah, and it's like, and I don't know. We've all been on Canva and been like, which one's the real file copy? And it feels like they were like one away. I don't know. Yeah, that's my little silly little thing. But yeah, Bless, what's your vibe with PlayStation Wrap Up?
I mean, I like the whole thing. I like it a lot this year because they did get a bit more into the minutia. I remember last year being like, oh man, I want more specific stats.
A bit too top level.
Yeah, a bit too top level. And here, I really love that they did the month to month, like what you played each month, like what was your main game each month, and then also like how many hours overall did you spend that month playing games? How many different sessions did you do? Like, I love those stats. Those are the stats that I really want. My first game that I played this year, no surprise to anyone, on January 1st, 2023, I played FIFA 23
Nice.
because I was
I knew
fresh
it,
off
yeah.
the fresh off the World Cup, right? The World Cup happened last year around this time, and so yeah, I was in that mode, and like FIFA 23 dominated a lot of the like my PlayStation wrap up because they do the thing where it's like, all right, you spent 12% of your time being a squad player or whatever,
I hate that.
like referencing more FIFA stuff. And then my top played game was FIFA as well. But I do like looking at my top 5 games because like they give you the hours and percentages of each games. And like, I feel like this year I was a gamer. Right, like I'm not like a chronically logged on gamer like a lot of gamers out there, right? But like I think for how much time we spend as like people who review games and stuff, playing a bunch of different games, right? And also being on other platforms, because I think my most played game this year in actuality is actually Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
And then somewhere up there too is Starfield for the review.
Hell yeah.
But I look at my top 5 and it is like FIFA 23 with 81 hours, Street Fighter 6 with 77 hours, Final Fantasy 16 with 52 hours, Lies of P with 41 hours, and then Wolong Fallen Dynasty, which is the game I keep forgetting came out this year, but I spent a lot of time. I've spent 38 hours playing that game.
Yeah.
And like I had a really fun time playing that game. But yeah, it's fun comparing that to them being like, oh yeah, but when I think about like the big games that came out this year, like Spider-Man 2 didn't make the cut. And for the top played, obviously, because the platinum takes like 25 hours to do.
Yeah.
But I like, I like weighing and balancing those, and so I look at my top 5, and I'm like, you know what? I gamed this year. I'm happy.
What was
I'm
your
proud of
total
myself.
games
My total?
of that first one?
Well, let me go back to it. I think it was 100. Oh, I was tabulating.
Damn,
111.
Very nice. Yeah, that is a
111
impressive game.
games?
Yeah.
that's
What the
ridiculous.
fuck?
Mine is 73.
I was 84.
What
this
the
year.
hell?
Get those numbers up.
What's
y'all.
yours?
32.
Yeah, but this is
Well,
going to
Barrett's
sound
actually finishing
disrespectful,
these
but it's not
games, that's the thing.
disrespectful at all, Barry. Like I think we're playing more because we're trying to touch everything and talk about everything.
Yeah.
You get to commit more, which I like.
We got our
Yeah.
grubby little
I'm a
paws
commitment
and
boy.
everything, and it's like you're like, I'm clearing my plate. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
What-
You're
yeah,
like, I
that's-
actually ate everything at the buffet that I
I'm
picked
having
up.
a
I didn't just
meal
grab
right
stuff.
And that's always the
Yeah.
annoying thing about this is like I always feel a bit ashamed of my numbers when I put them up there because first off we exist in the internet where everyone wants to shit on no matter we're in a safe spot with PS I love you XOXO no one's gonna come for us where you can talk about this but you put all that out there like what like my most played game shocking no one is Diablo but like my numbers aren't insane on Diablo I have 64 hours which is like if I would have put that out there like I put 64 hours in the first week. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, yeah, I know. I just play a lot of shit. It's hard for me to get back to things
That's the
that if I'm
thing,
not
too.
reviewing them. You know what I mean?
And to the 111 number for me, right? Like, if I showed you my Xbox ones, you'd be ashamed because
Yeah.
I went to my
Yeah.
top 3 Xbox games. Number 1 is Starfield with 70 hours. Number 2, Hi-Fi Rush with 14 hours, and then number 3 is Call of Duty Black Ops 2 with 40 minutes.
Yeah.
For my Xbox.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I
yeah.
barely.
The 40 minutes is wild.
Yeah,
That's so
like
funny.
I'm like I played 2 games on my Xbox this year, which like. I think this might have been my worst Xbox year, considering that, even though I spent a lot of time playing Starfield for the review. But then on my
Same.
Switch as well, right? Like I wasn't playing a lot of Switch games. Like
Same.
for me, it was like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and then Mario Wonder and Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
But yeah, PlayStation definitely dominated the bulk of my time this year, and I wouldn't be surprised, Barrett, if like your numbers for other things would have been maybe higher, like maybe your Steam
His
numbers.
Switch numbers must be off the chart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For as much as this kid was.
Actually not. No,
Really?
I was actually pretty surprised because, yeah, my guess on, I posted this of 401 hours in total on PlayStation 5, and I was like, oh, that's probably like one of my lower used consoles, but then I got my Switch numbers. My Switch numbers, I think, were
300 total hours. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah, I want to see my total
I'm
hours.
having meals, you know.
Janet,
I'm
what-
beating Sea of Stars like a committed gamer.
He's beating it.
Again, that's because you have the luxury of doing that and not
Why?
moving on to the next fucking review. But I stand corrected. Janet, what was your? Did we talk about your first gameplay?
No. Do you guys know what it is? Did you see my post?
No, I didn't see your
don't
post.
know, but I
don't
want to
know.
guess. Was it Sackboy?
guess.
A Big Adventure?
Yes, it was.
I can do it.
You already know, top 2 and not 2. Sackboy Big Adventure. No, I mean it is a great game, but yes, it is like the.
Hell yeah.
I've developed a meme attachment to that game just because I'm like, you know what? Fuck y'all. This was a good game. You don't know what you're talking about, And it was a fun time. But yeah, I think that might have been the day that we finally beat the game.
Nice.
So, it was not a lot of time in 2023 with Sackboy, but finally got that out of the not out of the chamber. I don't know. It fucking beat the game, right?
It's off
finished.
your back. The monkey's off your back.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I can live a new life now with new problems. My top 5 games were number 1 in the year of 2023, none other than Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 RE mix with 44 hours. Marvel Spider-Man 2 with 38 hours. Cult of the Lamb with 28 hours.
Nice.
Dead Space with 26 hours and Fortnite with 23 hours. I gotta get back into Fortnite. Fortnite's cool. And then one funny thing is I do also like the getting into the weeds. I like the funkier stuff, but I will say I'm not sure how they came up with like who you are, because I know it's percentage based, but like my percentage isn't even that high. So maybe I'm so much of everything. They're like, this was the biggest slice because you spent 15% of your game time leveling up, completing. They gave me role player, which is like the RPG trait, which I don't think is accurate, but frankly, I'm gonna use it to beat the Jan doesn't know shit about RPGs allegations.
Fair,
so I'm like, I'm sorry, why did I get assigned role player by
Make the
PlayStation?
make the titles work for you, Janet. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Exactly. I'm like, excuse me, I was PlayStation's 2023 role player of the year, so I think I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I just thought that was funny. And then Barrett, oh my god, my recommended games on there is Sea of Stars, and I don't know, man. I don't know what to do anymore.
My top
But
5
yeah,
are
it was a fun time.
number 1, Diablo 4. Number 2, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Number 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2. Number 4, WWE 2K23. And then number 5, Horizon Forbidden West.
Hell yeah.
I went back in platinum, dude, on top of the DLC. So
Gotcha.
there you go.
Yeah, I spent a lot of hours in that game too. Like, it didn't crack my top 5, but unfortunately, it seems like every year is the year that I get COVID, so I hate that trend. But usually, last year I got COVID and I platinumed Horizon. This year when I got COVID, I beat Starfield. So usually I at a certain point when I get over the threshold of body horror that lasts for about 2 to 3 days, but I'm not well enough to work again, that's when I'm like, it's time to beat that game. So I don't know. Maybe when I get sick this year, Barrett, if I haven't played Sea of Stars yet, fuck it. I'm just going to be sitting in a stupor playing Sea of Stars.
I like this stat where they talk about like this year what you played based on percentages of like consoles, and I imagine for all of us the PS5 is going to dominate, right? Because like it says
It's such a ridiculous little thing to toss in.
yeah, but I love it because
Yeah.
it's also just another dunk on PSVR 2, because it says I spent 97.41% of my game time playing 94 games on my PS5, and it works its way down. I spent 2.59% on 18 PS4 games that I played,
That's
and then I
hilarious.
spent 2.44% of my time playing 17 games on PSVR 2. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that was all in February.
Yeah, I spent 98.78% of my time playing 75 games on my PlayStation 5. I did 1.22% playing 9 PS4 games.
Oh my god.
I spent 2.24% of my game time playing 16 games on PlayStation VR.
Jesus. And also my favorite DualSense was the Edge. Did it give you guys a favorite DualSense?
Interesting. Yeah, mine's just this basic white.
Oh, you're basically yeah.
But I don't think it would give me something different about colors. Probably.
that's what I
which
wanted
Because
to
I
tab
never
was
use
this
basic
under?
white. Huh?
That's we'll go
What
for
tab
it.
was this under?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, if you go to the fifth
No,
one, then scroll down.
6. Yeah, the one that
Okay,
starts
6.
with this year you played it blank hours. Hey,
Oh,
that's a lot of
okay.
gaming. That's what mine says. And then you scroll
That's
down.
wild that like they have a
Alright.
favorite DualSense thing, but there's only 2 different DualSenses. Unless they're
Yeah.
counting the PlayStation Portal as one.
I mean, it's
I thought it'd be fun if they
possible-
counted the Portal, but they don't, right? Because Greg, you got some time in there, but I don't know when
I
it
have a lot of time in
calls the
Portal.
analytics though either. You know,
yeah. It's
But
probably
But I
too
mean,
late for
there's
that.
no way I could have surpassed my regular time with the
No.
Portal time yet.
Mine
Maybe
was,
it is. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and maybe it is the fact I'm discounting the fact that I use a white controller at work.
yeah. Someone in the
Oh.
chat, Jonathan Santos says it gave me the red PS5 controller as my favorite.
wow.
Oh,
See,
that's cool.
Sorry,
Okay.
That's a bunch of bullshit. They don't know what I like.
They don't-
Well, that's
maybe
super
they
dope.
know you better than you.
That
know
isn't my
yourself. I don't
favorite
know.
controller. God damn it! I use the powder blue one at home all the time.
I got 81.89% of my time playing 62 games on PS5, 18.11% on 12 PS4 games, 3.32% on playing 10 PSVR games, and then my favorite DualSense, they gave me the pink one. Yeah,
Oh,
Nice. I
yeah, it
earned
looks so
18.
cute too. They got little hearts around it.
I earned 18 digital collectibles
Wow.
and earned 1,229 points.
Wow. Hold
I
on,
will say the one I think the wackest part of this was the thing you get at the end. They're like, and now here's a digital spider bot or
whatever.
something. Like,
Yeah, I got
and
spider
don't know.
bot too. Yeah.
I'd rather just give me $5 on the PSN store.
That'd be
You know what I
nice.
mean? Like, I don't know.
The fact
I
that
mean,
like you have to like copy and paste the like code they
the
give
code,
you,
yeah.
I was like, no, I'm not
I'm
gonna do
good. I
that.
don't need
Just
this.
automatically
You know
put it
why?
to my account, or I'm not doing
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
You know
no.
why though? Because they don't want to end up like that YouTube album. Oh my God, PlayStation put this on my PlayStation. I don't know what
Oh,
to say.
sure.
Like,
Great point.
Like this
know?
spider bot keeps popping up on my homepage. I don't know how to get rid of it.
The YouTube album shifted society. Like when that thing dropped on was it your iPhone, your iPod?
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know.
iPhone.
iTunes.
Yeah. Greg, I'm interested. How many trophies did you get? Because you're
Hold on, I
you're a
want
trophy
to.
boy.
You guys are ahead of me. I do want to go through the monthly breakdown.
Oh, okay.
I like that a lot because
Yeah.
I think that's such a nice little time capsule of what the fuck you were doing in that
Yeah.
month for work. Because for January, my game of the month, Forspoken.
Oh,
Because I reviewed Forspoken. Game of the month for February, Wild Hearts. Hell yeah, fuck yeah. March was WWE. April was Star Wars. May was Horizon again. And then June was Diablo 4. July was Diablo 4. August was Immortals of Avium when I tore myself away from Diablo to get back to work. September was Final Fantasy 15. Or 16. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're probably playing a lot of Starfield. Yeah.
That's a great fucking point.
Yeah.
Because I was like, how did 6 hours of Final Fantasy? Yeah, that's a
Oh,
great
yeah.
point. That's when it was.
Yeah.
October, Spider-Man 2, shocking no one. November, Bluey the video game. December, which is interesting that's already pulling that, but Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh.
I've been
Okay.
doing another playthrough of
That's
that.
fun.
Yeah. What about you, Blessing?
Yeah, so January I got FIFA 23 with 36 hours there. February, Wolong Fallen Dynasty. That's when I played that game for 34 hours, which I don't remember. That game doesn't feel like it came out in February, but I guess it did. In March, it was Resident Evil 4. Put in 32 hours there. April, I was back to playing FIFA 23 for 15 more hours. Street Fighter 6, May was Street Fighter 6. June was Final Fantasy 16. July, back to Street Fighter 6. August, Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. September, Liza P, a whopping 41 hours just in September. October, Marvel Spider-Man 2. November was Alan Wake 2, which I'm surprised Alan Wake 2 didn't come up on yours, did it?
Yeah.
You played more Bluey than Alan Wake 2 in November. I guess that also originally came out in September, so maybe
Alan Wake 2 came out in September?
I think it was
like end of
October,
September
right?
or end of
maybe not.
October.
Yeah, it came out at the end of October. And I guess we
It
were
probably got
reviewing
split
it
between
then.
2 months for you. Or
So,
something.
yeah, maybe it got split between
that
the
makes
months.
more sense. That makes more
And
sense.
then December was Fortnite for some reason.
Nice. I got January Cult of the Lamb, which funnily enough, I still haven't. They had like a content drop for that, and that wasn't even. I don't even think that was this that I did. I just beat the game and then like worked on some trophies. I want to go back to it though. February Dead Space.
Nice.
March Chia.
Yeah.
April Horizon Forbidden West because of the DLC. May Fortnite with 2 hours. So I guess I just didn't play my PlayStation in May. I don't know what's going on. June I had Diablo 4. July Kingdom Hearts. August Kingdom Hearts. September Lies of P. For some reason, hold on, my scroll got funky. October Marvel Spider-Man 2. November Kingdom Hearts again. And December Chance of Sonar. I played a lot of Kingdom Hearts, but I did beat the game.
May
so.
was Tears of the Kingdom, so maybe you're playing. I don't,
Oh yeah, no, you're
No.
totally right. Yeah.
How much?
You raised a good point about this Alan Wake thing and then Bluey. So my November it says Bluey's my game of the month with 5 hours.
But PlayStation.
However,
also doesn't
gaming
hunt
sessions, I had
time,
69
so-
gaming sessions. I logged 22 hours and I played 23 games. How's it possible that I played all these games for 30 minutes at a time and I've got nah?
It's all those platinums. We know you're still on the wagon.
I'm not on. No. Yeah, I'm on the wagon for not having. You fall off the wagon, I'd be getting cheap platinums.
Oh, I see. All right, well, how much are you guys gonna think about the first game you boot up in the new year? Because now I'm like, fuck this pressure. But they're not gonna track it next year because they know.
But I don't know. I'm gonna let it happen naturally. But I'm excited to see what it is. It might be another honestly multiplayer thing because I think for me, that's a time where it's like I personally use that time to just like really have fun with gaming and like chill and gravitate towards whatever like my household's in the mood for. And I've actually been playing God, I don't know the name of it. It's like a weird name, like Super Castle Rhythm, whatever. Is that the Konami game that came out? It's like a rhythm multiplayer game. I've been playing that on PlayStation. So honestly, that might end up being the first game I play.
I'm gonna find the most random game possible to boot up first thing.
January You're gonna
1st.
do that though, and it won't even do that.
Yeah, they won't pull it.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm gonna play Gravity Rush.
I'm not gonna think about it. I'm not gonna think about it.
Are you gonna try to look like like someone with taste? You know.
Janet, for you asked me about trophies, and I was talking to Bless about this offline. I'm just like, I look at this, and it wasn't even before PlayStation did their wrap up. I saw that True Trophies was doing theirs, and I logged in and did it that way because I saw Kyle Stevenson from the Trophy Room put up his stats. And I was like, oh, yeah, let's get in there. And I did mine, and then I went back to look at Stevenson's, and I was like, I'm clearly a father. I'm a shell of my former self. I got 593 trophies in the year, only 5 platinums.
Hey, hold on. I want to see if I surpassed Greg.
I got, while you pull that up, I got 448 trophies with 4 platinums.
Nice. Barrett got 305.
What tab
2 platinums. Nice job, Barrett.
It is the 367 tab.
Oh, here we go. So you said you had how many, Greg?
593.
Damn it. I got 510.
Close.
How many platinums?
2 platinums.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I went up 27 trophy levels because I was almost at like no levels. Because this account is not actually that old.
I think I went from bronze to silver level.
It said that on 2, but like that's not true. I've been silver like forever.
I think they just use that as like a signal of like, hey, you went up levels.
Yeah.
Because I was confused about that.
I mean, what trophy level are you, Greg?
Still silver.
Yeah, Sylvie's
We're all gonna be
Super
silver
part of the
forever.
silver family.
Just
Let's
the
go.
most broken fucking economy of all time.
That seems right to me.
They should
No,
make
the
it
most
not make
broken
any.
economy of all time. Now I wish I could pull it up.
I'm 566.
So specific. Nike Run Club has the most broken
Don't worry about
economy.
it.
What are you?
365.
There you go. And we're all silver somehow.
Yes. Hold on. Oh my god, I wish I could find it. The freaking Nike Run Club, like the running app, has levels as well, and they're like ridiculously broken. Like to get to the next color level, I can't pull it up because this app is also horrible. It's like you have to run like, I don't know, 1,000,000 miles or something just insane where it's like, I'm gonna die before I can reach this. Why did you make it such a big jump? I don't know. People don't know how to do that next tier. They're like, let's just put a number that comes into our mind and add some 3 zeros after it and just walk away. I hate it.
We got a big question to get to in terms of what we think of God of War Ragnarok. What do we think of God of War Ragnarok Valhalla? But before we do that, and before I kick the ads, there is a question in the live chat, just like you could be asking your questions, patreon.com/KindaFunny. It says, Cameron Kennedy, what do y'all think your number one for next year will be?
Oh, most played.
Ooh.
See, it's interesting because I definitely think I could. What?
Concord.
Shut up. I definitely think I could have predicted Diablo being my most played game. Because I knew I'd be into that, and I thought Jen would be into it.
Mm-hmm.
But now to look into the next year, it's like, what's the next like big time game that I'm gonna get sucked into?
For me, I'm gonna say Tekken 8. I think Tekken 8 is gonna be my most played game, and that's based off of it coming out in the beginning of the year in January, and also me being a big Tekken fan and like seeing how many hours I put into Street Fighter already. Like I think Tekken is gonna be one of those for me where I am playing it throughout the entire year.
I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's long. It's chunky.
Oh, it is.
But is it
chunky?
How long was the last one? It was only like 20 hours.
This
right?
is going to be much longer.
30 to 40.
Yeah. Also, granted, the last one I was doing guides work for it, so guides hours don't count because it's like you're just sitting there like staring at things and writing things. But I had like 80 hours in the last one for that reason because I did all like the side content and then I also had to write while I was doing it. So I don't know. I could just see it really blowing up, and because for me, I don't play a lot of. Every now and then, like a FIFA will break in with a lot of high hours, a Fortnite could break in, but historically, I've never had one of those games be my number one. So I'm thinking, what's the meatiest regular, quote unquote regular game that is coming out that might take a lot of my hours? And I feel like that is the one that fits the bill for that.
I'm sticking with my Tekken 8 answer for me, but a dark horse could be Fortnite. because with Fortnite now
Join me
being
in Fortnite. Are you good at it? Because I'm not good. But
well, I've been
like
playing
hang
like the
out.
other games that they've been adding. So like Fortnite Festival and Rocket Racing and,
Yeah.
and Lego Fortnite. I've started to play, and like I've already been leveling up in the battle pass based on those, and I'm like, ah, shit.
Now I'm connected.
Yeah, I could see myself putting in like just accidentally putting in a lot of hours into Fortnite because I'm playing 4
Yeah.
games in one.
I'm gonna make a bold prediction for Greg.
Thank you.
I think it's gonna be Suicide Squad.
Mm.
Because I can
he's an
see
Avengers
it, like
sicko.
even if it's
It's true.
even
Can't
if
argue
it's
that.
just fine, right? I
Yeah.
could see you and your old Avengers buddies like getting deep into this.
Yeah, I've heard, it seemed that people who wanted to break their NDAs for the beta were impressed with it. So we'll see. We'll see. I guess I could see that. Yeah, if it's a nice DC world to live in, that'd be fun. But really, I look at somebody right there. Yeah, my dog Nick96 says Helldivers. Helldivers, I'm not expecting to be like, this is my fucking religion. Like, I'm expecting to really enjoy that for a while, but then everybody else moves on and I have to move on too.
See, my prediction is one of us is going to be Concord.
I think Concord's coming
No
out next year.
way.
You don't
It's
think
not
so?
gonna be me.
They already
Besides, like,
delayed
2 people left.
They're already
Three
delaying Marathon into
Mhm.
2025. You know,
Yeah, games are hard to make.
listen, Concord feels like it's right around the corner.
Well, you know what is right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen? The ads. Well, that's unless you're on patreon.com/kindafunny. Of course, over on patreon.com/kindafunny, you can get each and every episode of P.S. I Love You XOXO ad-free. Of course, you could get the show live as we record it and be in the chat, just like Cameron was and my dog Nick96 were. Of course, you get all the other podcasts live as we record them. You get them all ad-free as videos and MP3s. And of course, you can just have a great time. You can support us. You get 400 bonus episodes of content. You could get the Christmas card this month as the premium item. But I digress. You're not on patreon.com/kindafunny. So here's a word from our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by Xreal. Turn any game you're playing from any console, PC, or handheld into a 130-inch virtual big screen with Xreal AR glasses. Available now at xreal.com and Amazon. Xreal AR glasses usher in the era of wearable displays and are perfect for gaming, watching movies and TV, working at a desk, or checking out augmented reality apps. Xreal AR glasses connect to Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, plug directly into your Steam Deck, ROG Ally, PCs, Macs, iPhone, Android. You see where I'm going with this. Kevin Coelho has been playing with the new Xreal Air 2 Pro glasses and unsurprisingly is absolutely obsessed with them.
It's awesome.
It's the big screen experience perfect for using on the go or at home for playing games anywhere on the biggest screen possible. The picture you see is crisp. The built-in speakers give you rich audio. The glasses are lightweight, only 2.5 ounces. And because you control where the virtual screen appears, you can rest your head, neck, and shoulders comfortably without getting any of that tech neck you get when you're staring down at the screen. You can get your Xreal AR glasses now at xreal.com or Amazon. This episode's brought to you by ZBiotics. We all have busy lives these days, and we can't afford to waste a day stuck on the couch because a few drinks the night before. ZBiotics pre-alcohol is the answer we've all been waiting for. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have a ZBiotics pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. This holiday season, give your family a gift they'll actually want and use with ZBiotics. Go to zbiotics.com/kindafunny to get 15% off your first order when you use KindaFunny at checkout. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/kindafunny and use the code KindaFunny at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. This time of year can be a lot. Having to figure out, am I getting a gift for this person? Am I not? Whether or not your family gives gifts during the holidays, you get to define how you give to yourself. And the holidays are a great time to do just that with therapy. You can get out of your negative thought cycles and find some mental and emotional peace, and it can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind. Some of my best friends use BetterHelp and love how helpful it can be for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself, and it isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/kindafunny today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/kindafunny. BetterHelp.com/kindafunny.
It's time for topic of the show. A little show called The Game Awards happened. Spider-Man won jack shit. It's rigged. We all know it. We all know it.
S-tier video.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Who do you know?
You saw the stat that like Insomniac has been nominated for like 22 game awards things and has not won once.
Yeah, so
That blew my mind from KFGD.
we should make an Insomniac award and give it to him.
Here's the Insomniac award. A game was awarded this for being an Insomniac game.
And the winner is Spider-Man. Or no, the winner is Baldur's Gate. I don't know how this happened. Anyways,
Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
there, of course, there was a trailer for God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, a roguelike mode that was coming on December
12th.
this year, and everybody went fucking crazy. Oh my god! It is out now. You can play it. It is free. A little DLC there before I'm coughing on my own hate.
I get choked up when I think about God of War as well.
Oh man, look at this already. It's just such a touching scene. Already out there. You could play. We've been playing Janet.
Yep.
How much have you played, and what do you think of it?
I think I'm like 1 or 2 hours in, so I'm pretty early. Though also, it's not.
Yeah.
It's a roguelite, so it's like I don't know. Mileage can vary. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm not the biggest roguelite person at all. So there's that. But I will say that the story aspect of it is really intriguing and is sort of the thing that I think is gonna keep me in it because I want to know more about like the world, what's happening. It's set after the main game, so it's kind of looking toward the future, but also like it's got some cool, funky memory stuff. So that's also very rad. And then I like the thing I really like about this is I think it leans into amplifying the dope parts of the combat. Again, we've kind of gone back and forth on, what do we think of God of War combat and like how compelling is it or isn't it? I personally feel like it does fall into that Spider-Man thing where, yes, it can be button mashy. You can just hit R1 and it's fine because it's not too hard of a game. But if you want to get into the weeds, there's a lot there. We talked a lot about in the base game, the different shields and the different like things you can kind of pull off and combos. And this totally leans into that with them sort of having, I forget the exact terminology, but kind of challenge objectives to do to get like little rewards. So it really pushes you towards playing with different builds. But I haven't made crazy progress in it besides the fact that I don't have a lot of hours. But I'm also like, what if I like tried to get good at parrying in this game? So that means I die a lot more easily, but it's been fun messing with that where I feel like, I don't know, I never did that before because it's like, I'm just trying to make it work for me, getting through the game and enjoying the combat. But now the emphasis is so on the combat that it gives someone like me space to play with it in a way that I wouldn't normally. And that's what I like about it. But what about y'all?
Plus.
Yeah, so I played about I want to say like 4 to 5 hours of it, and I've been enjoying it a lot. I think for me, I have a lot of thoughts on it. Where I want to start is a tweet from Sam Barlow, the developer of Immortality
Fame.
Where
is Immortality for PlayStation, Sam?
He put up a tweet 3 days ago saying, "Not crazy about this trend of adding a roguelike mode to existing AAA games. In my opinion, the point of a roguelike is that the repetition allows you to figure out and master a complex system. That not that it's just not just infinite cheap content." And then he kind of goes off. This is before obviously like the game comes out, right? So I think this is for him a first blush opinion. I don't know if he's like followed up on like if he's played it or not, but there was a tweet under that tweet where somebody replied, I believe it's somebody named Crystal Lee replied and said, "Being generous, I'm somewhat impressed by these PlayStation games being The Last of Us 2 and God of War Ragnarok, exerting the effort to suggest that to the player that their quote unquote play is on its own worthwhile, as opposed to them just being it's a small world, which is how they can feel sometimes."
Yeah.
And I think that's where I come down on it is like I really like God of War's gameplay. I've never fallen in love with the gameplay, right? Like I'm more so showing up to God of War 2018 and Ragnarok for the story and the characters and the presentation and the moment to moment
Visuals, music.
the music, like the cinematic nature of it. There's so much about the presentation of God of War that works for me. Whereas like I almost like I almost go through the combat sequences as a means to get to more story. For me, playing through God of War Valhalla so far has made me appreciate God of War's gameplay way more.
Sure.
And I think that's because they have now like centered in on it as like a focus of, hey, like this is about the gameplay, right? Like the gameplay isn't an element here. The gameplay is the focus, and like the story is an element, and the story is powerful. And we'll get to that. But like I have been so surprised by how much the roguelike elements have made me go, oh snap, like this has been great. It's just about the way that they presented the gameplay and like the stuff that I would have wanted more out of, because as I am like, you know, starting a run and it is, all right, which weapon path am I going to go down? Am I going to do the spear? Am I going to do the fucking Blaze of Chaos? Am I going to do the Leviathan axe? All right, cool. I'm going to do this. And then going through the upgrades of, oh, okay, do I want this light runic attack that's going to, you know, really help me? Or do I want to like upgrade my health a little bit? Or do I want to do this? Those choices have been so engaging moment to moment. And I think they really have done a good job of making the gameplay aspects and the upgrade aspects and the roguelike aspects very engaging and fun. But the layer on top of it that, you know, I look at Sam Barlow's original tweet and I go, I totally understand where he's coming from. But I think the layer that of story and purposeful like design and narrative that they've added on top of Valhalla has actually like really made this a worthwhile roguelike, where it feels like they played a lot of Hades. It feels like they've played quite a bit of Returnal, right? It feels like they understand or have gone into this with the thinking of, we are going to use this repetitive gameplay mode as a way to tell a really cool story. And I think the story that they're deciding to tell here is very compelling and very interesting. And I like how it's harkening back to classic God of War stuff. I like how it's harkening back to like the Greek mythology stuff. And I like how this is about Kratos, right? Like we're not gonna like pull Atreus into this. We're not going to like make this about the broader world. We are telling a really personal story about Kratos and him growing and him like confronting his past. And I saw somebody on Twitter also compare it to like Kratos is going to therapy, which I like. I like a lot as a thing. But yeah, like I've really been enjoying it. I'm excited to keep on playing it. I feel like I must be maybe halfway through. I'm playing on like the standard difficulty, like the recommended difficulty, and I will say it's a bit on the easier side on the standard difficulty. And so like I kind of wish I at the start of it maybe bumped my difficulty up. But aside, but I'm already here. Like it's the thing where
you don't want to get your head kicked in now.
Yeah, it's like, well, if,
but it's more
if he changes, then he can't be like, it's not that hard, because, you know, someone like me,
but it's also more so the thing of like, I'm so stubborn about, I want to play the game the way the devs want me to play the game. And so whatever you say is your standard difficulty is what I'm going to play. But yeah, like I'm having such a fantastic time with it. I'm surprised that it's free. I'm surprised that they are able to shadow drop it. I'm also surprised at the placement of this by PlayStation, of how it places right in front of Last of Us's no return mode, which I think is a bit awkward, because like, you know, Greg, me and you previewed the Last of Us no return mode, and both of us really enjoyed that mode from the preview. Playing this God of War Valhalla mode, I'm like, oh, this is easily better. Like this is like no shade to Last of Us, right? Like I love the Last of Us gameplay. But it's like the fact that this is narrative and it is building building Kratos' character and expanding on that, and like it's just fucking good. Like I'm very surprised by how, and the fact that it's free and that it's out already. Like I'm surprised by the placement of it.
I do wonder like what that looked like internally in terms of.
Wait, you're doing this too? Fuck.
Yeah, in terms of but also in terms of the marketing and the rollout, and just everything about them is so different in terms of like how it got presented to us as the audience, the cycle, the fact that y'all had like the preview cycle to begin with and did your preview of it prior to it coming out, the fact that it costs money and this doesn't. Like, I do think this is going to take a lot of the wind out of the sails of that mode, because I don't know. But funnily enough though, and this is like the classic thing that I feel like why we end up complaining about other people complaining is all y'all got so mad when The Last of Us cost anything, but people aren't as excited that God of War is free. I mean, people like it, but they're not like, the noise isn't as loud for like the how you wanted it, which that's always the case. But I do think that the combination of it being good, of it, you know, according to you, Blast, maybe being better or probably being better. Again, you haven't played the full version of the whatever, right? Like all the caveats, and it being free, and it being like, here it is, and also it's ready almost now. Like, yeah, that's like, I feel like they ate them up with this. So it's like, damn, like, I don't know. Like, I wonder if that was strategic within when you zoom out into more of PlayStation Studios as like a collective, this idea of, well, this team is going to do it this way and this team's going to do it
Yeah.
this way, and we'll see how it goes.
Because it's
or
not
was
like,
it like
it's not like they're blindsided. At least PlayStation, right? Like
Yes.
PlayStation understands that both these products are happening. Like maybe Naughty Dog and Sony Santa Monica don't know
like,
like
did someone
what
call
each other's
dibs on the
working
good rollout, and then they're like, oh man, I wanted
It's just like the ordering of it.
I mean, all right. So I'm letting you talk yourselves out
Yeah,
of here,
go
whatever
for it,
you're
go for it.
going to. But like, first off, for dibs on the good rollout or whatever, one being free, one. I mean, Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is an entire game. It is the lost levels.
That
It
too,
is the
yeah.
commentary. It is like there's a bunch of stuff happening there. I'm not even trying to carry water for that. But that is a hey, we've made a PS5 version of that. So it's not exactly if it was just hey, we made no return mode and you have to pay for this DLC, that's a different conversation.
Sure.
But I do think they are different. And to jump in on this, right? Like I've probably played it about as much. I've done a full afternoon yesterday and a little bit before, so probably 5 hours right in there or whatever. And what I think's interesting is that it worked the opposite for me, where I wish they hadn't given us the preview of Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, no return mode, right? Because we did that last week, obviously, and talked about that. Full disclosure, of course, we do have review copies of Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. The embargo is January 16th. You'll find it on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames and podcast servers around the globe. I'm not sure yet if it's a PS I Love You or Gamescast, but we'll get to that later in January. But everything I'm going to talk about right now is based on just the no return mode preview we had, right? I do wish we hadn't done that. This had dropped and then they let us preview it because I'm the opposite of you. I think this God of War, I think Valhalla is awesome and fantastic, and I'm blown away by the amount of story in it. I think it's gorgeous, and it is, hey, here's the gameplay of God of War. In the same way when we talked last week, it was, hey, Last of Us is applauded for its story. Don't forget how good the gameplay is. I really feel like, why are they on top of each other? Why are they doing this, blah, blah. I feel like in a lot of ways, we're walking in and this is an ice cream shop. And it really is, do you want chocolate or do you want strawberry or vanilla? Whatever your two ice creams you like are, right? Because I obviously adore God of War. I adored Ragnarok. 2018 is still my favorite game of all time, right? In terms of the total package. However, stripping everything away and giving me this thing, I had the weird, not craziest, I guess, but something I've never done where I kind of just let myself go, where it was like, this is out there. This is a game you can go play. It is free to go get this mode and do all this stuff. So it's not that I'm under the gun of a review. Let's hit the embargo. Let's do the whatever, right? Like I played it. I played for those 2 afternoons and I was like, man, I really enjoy this, but I'm enjoying it for the same way I feel like I enjoyed classic God of War, which was, just fucking beat the shit out of everybody with these things, get to the next story section. Okay, do the same thing. And I did it for those 2 afternoons and I was like, I could keep doing this, but I am playing a Cyberpunk at home. I'm trying to give Baldur's Gate the old college try. We did just get Last of Us Part 2 codes in. I am done. And so I just went and watched the cutscene compilation on YouTube to get to the end. And part of that, I feel, is multiple things of, this is flavor of ice cream, right? But it is the idea that I played no return mode last week and had such a good time with it that is what I want. Like I have that taste in my mouth. Personally, for me, I want that more. I want a more stealth style approach than the action God of War. I want Metal Gear as opposed to God of War on PS2. And so I'm in there and I'm just like kind of spamming through what the attacks are. I'm playing on basic difficulty too, which is very much like I don't have to think about it. And I also don't want to crank up the difficulty because I don't want to get frustrated. But then I was just like, well, I just really want to know what happens because the story's so good and the performances are so good. You could watch it like a movie. I went and did that. Whereas, like, to double back to Last of Us last week, I like that gameplay more. I like it's a tired way to say it, but the chess or the chess board of it more of, all right, I'm in the weeds and I'm using listen mode and I got people coming here, but if he breaks that way, I can set a trap and I can blah, blah, blah. Like, I like that. I like hey, I'm going through and doing these challenges to unlock the different characters who have their different things, who have their different stuff, Like, it reminds me a little bit of, like, Rogue Legacy and why I connected with that as my first roguelike, where it was, I'd play through, at the end of it, you come back even when you're dead with the money you earned to spend on the thing to make your next run a little bit better, a little bit more personal to you. God of War, obviously you can do that. I'm not taking away from it. There's multiple, you unlock more ways to customize your journey as you go. But still, it was like, I like how Last of Us is doing it. That's what I want to go do. I really want to go play it that way.
Yeah. I think the thing that I'm like appreciating about it, and like I think for both Last of Us 2 and for God of War Ragnarok, right? Like I have that same feeling of like Yeah, like they're putting the play of it first, right? And like one of the things that always annoys me about critique with Last of Us are people that are like, "Oh, it's just a movie. Oh, it's just all cinematic." And it's like,
Yeah.
no, the gameplay is really fun. And like the Last of Us No Return mode puts that on display, and where it's like, all right, here's a mode that's full gameplay. Like that's not really any story. And like in that way, I'm with the Rogue Legacy thing of I can't wait to get to around to where I get to play Last of Us No Return, so I can put on a podcast and just like be in a flow state of playing this thing. Where the thing that surprised me about God of War Valhalla is that I started listening to a podcast at the beginning of it, and I kept having to pause the podcast because as I'm playing, like I would start a new run or get to a next room,
And
and
Mimir starts talking.
yeah, Kratos and Mir
yeah.
start talking. I'm like, all right, cool, let me pause this.
And it
they're
was a
saying-
nice flashback to what I remember so vividly of 2018 and a tired story from everybody of not getting out of the boat. Like you're
Yeah.
at your destination, but you sit in the boat. Like there was the thing where I'm as Kratos, I'm like standing at this door, but I'm like, please keep going.
That's the thing is
Mimir.
like I was listening to a conversation and I go to a door thinking that the conversation would just continue, and they're like, "Oh, we'll get back to this later," or like I didn't even say that. It was like, "Oh, sorry, we're starting right now," and
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, "Ah, fuck!" Like I really wanted to know what they were talking about, and the fact that they were able to make and like not that like it's apples and oranges to some extent because obviously Last of Us Part 2 No Return doesn't have a story element, right?
Yeah.
It's all just like here's fun gameplay stuff. We're gonna turn on fog or turn the enemies invisible. and
Here's
do
some
weird-
fog.
Here's fog. Whereas like God of War Valhalla, it is tied together by narrative. It's tied together by why is Kratos at Valhalla? What's going on here? Like what is he trying to do here? Right? And like there's narrative all around it. I am very surprised at how elegantly they're able to tie in the story stuff and make it's a reminder of how good God of War is, honestly, because like just the casual conversations that Kratos and Mimir are having.
Yeah.
I'm like pausing my podcast and being like, you know what? Fuck the podcast. I'm not listening to podcasts anymore while playing this thing. I'm just gonna be here listening to the story and the conversations that they're having. Free of Atreus, when it is just Mimir and Kratos, I'm like, I'm so invested in here.
Yeah,
like, to this.
100%. No.
Like,
Trey
they're
is
having-
catching a stray.
yeah, well, and like I'm Atreus hater number one, except I liked him better
Yeah.
in Ragnarok. But yeah,
If
I'm like,
Atreus has no haters, you're dead.
yeah, exactly. But like the fact that it's Mimir and it's Kratos, and it's two adults in the room, and we're having adult conversations. I'm like, I'm all about it. I'm having such a blast with it. Ken Garcia.
Yeah.
You
That's
haven't
just
played
funny.
Last
You're
of
like,
Us.
this is-
yeah.
You're like, this is the grown man shit of
Exactly.
a grown man and the
This,
head of a
this is
grown
the
man.
444 of of video games, of God of War games.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I mean,
I-
honestly, like a little bit, but I mean, I haven't played like Last of Us's shit that they have, so like we'll see, whatever. But I mean, I think that's totally valid because they're very different. Also, gameplay experiences like Last of Us and God of War. Again, Last of Us, you have to be a lot more intentional for the most part, or you have to be really good. Where it's like, oh, I can just ballet through all these bullets and like stab people with my knife, which I am not that. I like to just like wait and hide and
Yep.
look around and map things out. And I do enjoy Last of Us's gameplay more. And I think, to your point, Greg, yeah, with God of War, like you could totally just like play it and pretend like it's not even a roguelike and just kind of go through it, and I probably would live just fine. I'm kind of purposefully playing, and you know, truth be told, I probably won't finish playing this just because I'm like, I don't know, it's the end of the year, it's like side stuff. Maybe I'll probably get to it at some point because I think it's fun, but I also
Can I
have
chime
other
in on
things
that-
I want to do.
That real
Yes.
too quick. And this is I understand what they're doing, why they're doing it. I think God of War gameplay is great. Don't get me wrong. Maybe I'm just not in the mood for it. Maybe
Sure.
I think it honestly is that I just don't want the buffet of it, where it's like that thing of like in God of War the games, there's the relief of the exploring, the puzzle solving, the getting, you know what I mean. Whereas this, I might get a scene or a conversation, but it's right back into just beating the shit out of everybody. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
man, I'm not about that buffet of it. For me personally, I could go for it being shorter. Like that would be another thing too, where it is like when they were like 8 hours, I was like, oh fuck, okay. And I got like, so that's another thing for me where it's just like, I'm not yucking anybody's yums. It's just, it reminds me so much of why Chris Roper loved God of War 1 and 2 at IGN with me, right? Because it was an action game and your combos and your stuff. And I'm just like, oh man, that's why I don't like it, because I'm not that
Yeah.
guy. Whereas, and so like God of War 2018 and Ragnarok were such a great job of, and I don't want to, I was going to say cinematic set pieces and this, that. I'm not trying to say there aren't set pieces inside of Valhalla. Again, why I think it's so impressive and so surprising. It's just not
Yeah.
the meal I want right now, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense, right? I think that to some extent, I was with you after I previewed No Return, where I'm like, I cannot wait for this thing. Like, I love Last of Us gameplay so much, and so like the stealthy aspects and like the fucking meat, like when you fucking knife somebody in the neck and like Ellie's like digs it in there. I'm
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
can't wait for it. But I think for me is once I started Valhalla, one, like, again, the presentation is so good, right? So you start off in the boat and you're like rowing toward like the shore, and it is, oh man, okay, we're back.
Yeah,
And then once I started getting into the gameplay, I think it was a thing of like, okay, yeah, like this, it's like riding a bike. You know, I'm tapping R1, I'm pressing L1 right when I get the thing, so I get the parry and get the big thing. I think another thing I appreciate though is that they force you to use elements that you might not use, right? Like I think the thing with God of War, and again, it being the thing of, we are showing you why this game is fun to play, right? Why it's not just a great story, why it's not just like, you know, the gameplay serviceable. We are treating our gameplay as a thing that by itself is worthwhile. The fact that you start off a run and it's similar to Hades, which I think there's a lot in this game that takes a lot of influence from Hades. Before you start a run, you choose a shield and you choose I forget what the other thing you choose is.
You like Valor, Fury, like
yeah.
I heard the word for what those are.
Your L3 R3. But yeah, like whichever one, one of those will be like highlighted in a way, like it has like a glimmer to it, and you'll get extra currency if you use that one. So I'm over here using shields that I never use because the whole game I just use the fucking parry shield because, you know, I'm a parry poppy alongside Andy Cortez, and so I'm using the parry shield the whole time. But then one of the times it was like, hey, we have this shield where it is. You run, it has like a run and then like a slam to it, and I'm like, well, I never use that shield, but it's, you know, shimmering, so I'll click that one. And then for the other thing, right, I usually always used health when I was playing my base God of War playthrough.
Really?
Yeah, for the Valor.
Me too.
Yeah.
Why? But like,
I hate fucking dying,
Yeah.
Jared.
I
I thought y'all were good at the game, like especially, and I'm not trying.
You're out here not getting hit once.
Well, so in this, like in Valhalla, I started using the health one because I figured, oh, how convenient. But yeah, in the base game, I'm using rage, like, and other stuff, because like it's not a hard game. So like, how often are you dying in it? And you're good at the game, so I don't know. Maybe sometimes I feel also though, like being worse at the game, you don't die as often because you don't try to be good.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, I'm just bare
Interesting.
minimuming my way.
I think I think it's part of that where I'm like on autopilot when I'm playing God of War regularly, and so I'm like, okay, cool, I'll just give myself health whenever. Like it's another way to make it easy. But yeah, this time
anyway, go ahead.
I was using Wrath, I was using the other ones, and like I'm changing the way I play. I this is gonna be a hot take. When I didn't like the spear that much. When you get the spear in God of War Ragnarok, and I was like, I'm not gonna use this thing, so I just kept using my Leviathan axe and then the Blades of Chaos until the game made you use the spear.
See, this is maybe this is at the core of my thing, where it is that idea of just like, that's the point of a roguelike, right? In terms of random weapons, And I'm just so stubborn about liking what my build for Kratos was and being able to use the weapons I was able to use. Compare that to what we did with Last of Us, right? I don't think there's a weapon in The Last of Us, at least on the the characters we did in preview, there's not like a basic weapon that I don't like. Because even then, I'm always trying to stealth, right? Or like you saw me unsuccessfully with Abby. I'm going to melee the shit out of everybody, get health back, right? Like, I like all of those things, whereas the spear I never connected with.
The difference being like, I think God of War Valhalla focuses more on the weapons and more on the type of shield, the type of L3R3, and then the type of weapon they're using. Whereas the Last of Us
is more about the character.
Yeah, it's more about the playstyle, right? Hey, Abby's gonna be all up in your face. Ellie, I forget what Ellie's thing is, but
she's
like
balance.
Ellie's balance.
And again, you can change all these with the supplements you're going through and do all that different stuff.
But then like Lev has the bow and arrow, I believe.
Stealth,
stealthy, and so it is. The character I'm choosing in Last of Us is going to determine my playstyle overall, whereas God of War is trying to lean you towards using these different weapons and like abilities. And I think if you don't like a weapon, right, like you don't like
that's
a weapon.
A pretty good solution for maybe where because I don't want to say a problem, because that makes it sound like I'm not having fun or I don't like it, and none of that's true. I had a lot of fun with it. I was just like, I see what the next X hours are going to be, and I'd prefer not to do that just to see what happens here. And so I scrubbed through the thing, watched all the stuff. But that makes sense, because I feel like in our play session with The Last of Us again, like the way I was using all my stuff, right, the coins you were getting as currency when you'd come back to home base was I wouldn't buy the new weapons. I was investing in the one weapon I started with, and then bombs or health kits or whatever, because I'm usually just lying in the grass stabbing people in the neck.
I will say one other thing I do appreciate about Valhalla is that like I think it does keep itself interesting in terms of when you get further in the run, the things that it throws at you. And so like in one of the runs I did, right, like I got to a thing where it is, all right, now here's a challenge where the timer is going to go down, and each time the timer goes down, we're going to up the difficulty in this area that you're in. And I found that really cool because I was like, at first it was the thing of like, all right, am I just doing room to room? Because if that's the case, like I'm probably gonna get bored real quick. But they throw twists in there that are like, hey, like look for the 3 rifts or the 4, like depending on what you're doing, right? Look for the rifts. Take out whatever the they had a word for it, but like the specific enemy is that we want you to take out. And if you take out the enemies fast enough, then like, you know, you're not going to get upped in difficulty. But if you take your time, you know, we're going to up the difficulty. And like, you might want to take time because you want to find more of the items and stuff that are in the area. I think they find twists and turns. There's characters that they introduce in Valhalla that aren't in the main game that like are surprising and really cool if you're a God of War fan. And the way, again, in which they like loop that back around to Kratos' story, I think is really fun. So yeah, like if you're somebody who is a God of War person, right? Like I'll say, and if you're somebody who like, I guess just play God of War Ragnarok period, I think it's a worthwhile.
Free.
It's free.
I was surprised when I was like, oh, I'll go to the mailbag, and there were a bunch of questions in here, and I was like, huh. It's interesting you didn't just download it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because people weren't saying I don't own God of War Ragnarok. Is it worth buying? It was more like, should I jump back? Like Matt Grover writes in and says, do you recommend replaying a bit of the first game, the base game, to get your feet wet or whatever?
Oh, hell no.
I say definitely not, because the whole point of roguelike is you're dying and coming back, right? So like, there was a couple times where I didn't force it, but like the first time, well, not a spoiler, I guess, right? But like there's a few, you can't like start it and run it to the end. Like the game has story beats where it's like, all right, we're sending you back to, you know, restart the process because of this story thing, so you understand how this works. Like I think it's a great way to get in and get your feet wet.
I think too, I mean, I feel like this is a very specific sector of the audience, so maybe it's not even worth pointing out. But like when I say like don't go back and play the base game, it's not because the base game isn't good or like worth playing. It's just I just don't think it's like if you're asking if it's a necessary use of your time, the answer is no. A lot of times. That's all.
Like and honestly, like
should I replay the last 3 games? Should I replay all the games
to be clear, they were saying jump in like to refamiliarize, not play the game, just like start up your save and beat the shit out of something.
Yeah, but even that, and I mean that to clarify that it's not because it's not a good time. Like if you want to do that, sure, do whatever you want, but you don't need to. And they also bake in like in the menu they have like a lesson section that's meant to provide like supplementary support to like your refreshment.
And I will
into the thing, but
I'll say that like God of War is an easy game to understand. Like it's not that like it plays like so many other action games. The only thing with God of War is that I've mentioned this before in like reviews and stuff, right? Is that I feel like they throw so much in like the recipe of what can you do, and so it is like I think I had to remind myself like, okay, yeah, you got the light runic attack and the heavy runic attack, and then also like I guess L1 and triangle is a thing to activate something else.
I was like 3 or 4 runs in when I saw that. I'm like, oh yeah, I was like, that's the thing. With this,
and then I had to remind myself how the spear worked when you press triangle to like do that thing. So like there are things like that, but I think it overall God of War plays like an action game, right? Press L1 to parry and block, and like tap R1 and R2 for light and heavy, and like you'll get into it and remember things real quick. To like the narrative, I know they didn't ask about narrative, right? But like you don't need to play Ragnarok. Well, you need to play Ragnarok. You don't need to replay Ragnarok to understand what's going on in Valhalla. But like I would say, I mean, you don't have to replay God of Wars 1, 2, and 3. But if you want to, like
it would help. But if you don't have the time, you should go to youtube.com and put in "Can Kratos be better?" and watch Barrett Courtney's amazing video essay that is a God of War recap and a retrospective. 100%. If you did just pick up with 2018, like this is very much like, oh, here's a bunch of really cool references to past God of War games and who Kratos is, and it would go a long way to go through and I think play that ahead of time, because you know I had played those games back in the day, but I remember Barrett's thing so well, let alone how much we've talked about Kratos as a character, and it's like, oh man, there's a lot of cool stuff they're doing here that would drop in, which brings us to a question from Pickled Joystick, who writes in to kindafunny.com/PSILY, just like you can for free, and says, is this DLC accessible? Which I think we've already touched on. But more importantly, does this feel essential? And an essential must-play addition to the God of War story?
I'll go for it, Janet.
Well, yeah, you're further along, so actually I'd want you to start off and I'll just kind of add on.
I personally say yes. I think it's like it is an epilogue, right? It is a thing where like it's not God of War Ragnarok 2 or anything like that, but I think it is such a good reflection of Kratos' character, and it's such a good like come down moment for the series where, you know, like it almost feels like a post-mortem, and I think it's a necessary post-mortem of like where we've gone through with the God of War series so far. And so for me, I would say I'd say it's necessary.
My take on okay, you go, Janet.
Oh yeah, I would just say I agree. I mean, necessary is always like slightly dramatic in the sense that the way people just generally make video games is to remove as much friction as possible for like people. Like, we want you to play our game and to see our game and not feel like there's a reason for you to say no to that if you're interested. So I think for that reason, it's never quite like, oh my God, you absolutely need to like do whatever, especially in the modern era with, as Greg pointed out, videos, compilations, whether it's, Barrett's video essay, whether it's a series of cutscenes, I don't think you, especially if you're not into it, if you're playing it and you're like, whatever, yeah, just look it up if you want to. But the reason I say it's essential is because I think especially ever since I played, I'm going to get different studios, but ever since I played Spider-Man 2 and was like, y'all really thought I played that sleep in New York thing, I guess, and I didn't. And then I was like, damn, I guess I should have played that. And again, yeah,
The
I don't
city
know.
never sleeps.
Yeah.
Spider-Man
really
is
good.
sleep in New York.
Spider-Man is
Just him with
sleep in
the
New
sleeping
York.
bag on the street.
Which is funny because it's actually the opposite of the city that never sleeps. Like, Spider-Man sleeps in New York. I don't know. Yeah, but having that moment, and again, did that ruin my time? No, it's like it was fine. I did one Google of like a Wikipedia. I read one fandom wiki and was like, cool. I figured, But at that moment, I did wish that I had played, that extra bit, and I feel I could see that happening with this as well. So that's why I would say that it's like essential playing if you're looking to stay in tuned with everything.
I think again, I wish it was a little bit shorter to get to its point a little bit faster, and I also think that its point is the obvious conclusion. I mean, when the intro sets up kind of what's happening, not the intro, but like, you know what I mean? You'll see when you play it. I was like, oh, so this is how it's going to end. And then it ends that way. And I was like, it was a great ride with a lot of cool references and a lot of, retrospectives and reflection and yada, yada. But I was like, all right. It was cool. It's well done. It's well acted. It's a whole thing. I also think that when you start up God of War 3 or whatever the fuck comes next, which, by the way, Orion Walker, senior writer over there, tweeted, you really think the credits are the end of the story? Come on now. Meaning that we're probably getting more God of War. Shocking, I know. Whether that's a DLC or a God of War 3 or whatever, who knows.
Yeah.
But
Well, Bless brought this up on Games Daily, and I kind of agree with him. I think it's more story bits from here. The way it's worded of like, you think story ends after credits.
Yeah. I think the fact that it's a roguelike means like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, go back and play more after the credits. You're going to find more story stuff in there.
Gotcha.
That's the way I read it.
That's really smart. No, that makes a lot of sense. Similar to like a Starfield or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think too, like to.
You see this? Gimmick theft.
Blessing, I'm
Gimmick
coming for your title
theft.
Here.
Janet tweeted, while we were live, they call me Perry Poppy with a little clip.
Who's called you that, Janet? Name one person.
I called
Streets.
myself that, and that's all you have to do. I say it enough, I think people combo like me enough and enjoy trolling you enough that I could take this title if I really wanted to.
Well, it's
Wait,
not
no, I
even
mean-
Blessing's title, though, is it?
I think it is. Yeah.
He's everything Poppy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
I'm
is.
pretty sure that's Andy Cortez's original
He's Father
title.
Poppy.
Again, it's kind of getting passed around the office, No, but going back to Greg's point with the ice cream shop and what you're in the mood for, I do think, and also blessing all of your points with the combat, I do think it is a game or game mode or however you want to couch it that does require additional input from the player, which I have mixed feelings about that. I think a good game like facilitates that to a degree. Well, to me, I think it does that, right? It facilitates it to a degree, but you do need to put some of your own efforts into it, in my opinion, because yes, if I just go and I play it the way I play God of War, I don't think it would be that interesting, because it's like, okay, yeah, it's God of War. The combat's cool. I liked it in the base game and I like it now. But if you're more interested in exploring those additional like breadcrumbs they kind of leave for you, where they're like, hey, we'll give you an extra, I don't know, freaking whatever the currency is, right? If you use the shield, it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to do this. So you do, I think, to that degree, need to make your own fun. I mean, they facilitate the structure to push you towards that. But I think if you don't pursue that, then yeah, like this is just a bunch of rooms, and like some of the rooms are harder than others, and like whatever.
Well, I think the
but-
rooms do get interesting though. Like the rooms change up a bit that
Sure.
like make it more they keep it engaging as you go.
Yeah, but I think to me the deviation is in the push towards experimentation, and I feel like not to, at the risk of like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm blaming you for not liking the base combat
Do
more
it.
or anything like that, but I feel like kind of going back to our differences in skills, like you're more of a skilled action player than I am. I think dug into layers of the combat a bit more just because I had to. Like I kind of need to like come up with a way to go about it, while I think you're able to do a lot more with less. So I think this pushing you towards that is a way to kind of like create that enrichment in the combat if you didn't already have it in the base game. But I think if you choose not to pursue it or you're not interested in pursuing it, then yeah, it does feel to a degree like, okay, there's just more God of War and combat rooms, even if the rooms are interesting.
Blessing.
Greg.
What's happening this week in PlayStation?
What is happening this week in PlayStation?
I don't know. I asked you.
I was not ready for it. I was like trying to scroll down. My mouse wasn't going. We got a PlayStation Game Awards wrap up for you. Of course, the Game Awards happened last week. There was a bunch of announcements on there. A lot of them were, in fact, PlayStation announcements. The one I'm going to start off, though, isn't necessarily a PlayStation thing, but it's one that I think appeals to Greg and PlayStation fans. Monster Hunter Wilds was announced by Capcom. It's coming 2025. The game kicks off the 6th.
Prediction: my most played game of 2025 on PlayStation.
GTA 6 comes out.
You know me.
What?
I'm gonna play GTA 6 and then
Oh, 2025. Shoot.
I'll stop. I'll beat the
That's
story.
fair.
I mean, I played hundreds of or 800 plus hours of Monster Hunter
Yeah.
World.
I mean, I'm gonna play so much GTA 6. It's gonna be sickening. I'm playing a lot of that game when it comes out. But yeah, it's the 6th generation Monster Hunter. It's gonna launch on PC, PS5, and other consoles. And Xbox. The reveal trailer showed off flying mounts, a desert area, and of course, huge monsters. So you got that. Of course, free God of War Ragnarok DLC was announced, and it's out now. It's called Valhalla.
Never heard of it.
Final Fantasy 16 DLC was announced. Square Enix revealed 2 waves of DLC for FF16, Echoes of the Fallen and The Rising Tide. Echoes of the Fallen is out today already with new story chapters and takes place just before the final battle, and The Rising Tide is coming sometime in spring 2024. Rise of the Ronin got a March 2024 release date.
Hell yeah.
It's officially coming to PlayStation 5 on March 22nd. Get hyped for that.
Hype.
Very hyped. And then As Dusk Falls is coming to PS4 and PS5. That's the choice-based game. It's getting a PS4 and PS5 release on March 7th, 2024.
I loved that when that originally came out on Xbox.
Same.
That was a big one. Yeah, we did a well, I got COVID during it, but they went down and did that. Janet, you were there for the theater presentation and all that stuff where Mike did that. That was great, and I just really, really dug that game. Former Quantic Dream folks who had gone over, started their own studio, done this thing, a really cool art style to it. I'm excited to replay it here.
Damn.
Maybe I can save people that I killed before.
Man, I'm actually excited for the idea of replaying that game, just for the fact that it's one of those games that has all these different things that can happen, and I only played through it once.
Yeah.
And so I only saw my one narrow gameplay through line. But yeah, I'm excited to go back and see whatever else can happen.
Yeah, when we did the spoiler cast, I was shocked by how different other people's playthroughs were compared to mine.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Oh, so that game sets up a sequel, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. They called it Chapter 1, I think.
Can't wait for chapter 2.
I was very
that better
excited
come out soon.
when they started going. I thought they were going to announce Chapter 2.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. What I want to know is what you're most excited for out of the Game Awards. Janet, I'll go for us first because I imagine we have the same game. I put Lost Records, Bloomin' Rage. Come the fuck on. Are you kidding me right now? Don't Nod getting back to a game that looks like a real Don't Nod game.
Okay, first of all, I don't like this erasure of Blessing not being a Don't Nod person like you guys are.
Jan and I share one mind, though. Remember, we share one mind.
I think I was the first person to play through True Colors. Share the gospel.
That might be true.
No, it doesn't matter.
I do think
okay.
I fucking love
we
Life
need
is Strange.
First off, though, I was Columbus and discovered Don't Nod before you even knew who they were. All right,
Do you
so
really
you
want to?
You played Remember Me?
I did play Remember Me.
Wait, so-
Okay, I didn't play Remember Me.
So you're Columbus in the way that you claim to have found something that people already discovered.
Oh yeah, 100%. There were
She makes good
There were
points.
a whole bunch of people on Don't Nod saying this shit's hot, and
Well,
I was like,
here's the thing.
it's
I
not
think we
important
need-
until Greg said it's
Here.
important.
Bless, both of us, we need a rebrand, right? I'm now really good at parrying, and you're into narrative games.
I'm
you
the
actually are into
narrative
games, and I'm
poppy.
not good at. Yes, this is a me and Bless game now. But no,
Bullshit.
anyway, all trolling each other aside, I mean, Don't Nod is, has a very storied history with story games. I was surprised to see what I thought of. I kind of called this Life is Stranger things. Is essentially what it looks like.
I love
It's the
that.
vibe.
See, for me,
Thank you.
as a fan of both properties of Life is Strange and the other one that I think this looks so much like Paper Girls, which is about this group of paper girls, and then in the future what they're like, and then them having to work together. Because that's the whole. If you missed this, ladies and gentlemen, I'm reading the little IGN synopsis. Lost Records, Bloomin' Rage, which sounds like Bloomin' Onion, is coming to next year to PC, Xbox, and PS5 with a story that focuses on friends who reunite after 2 decades. The trailer we just watched shows it in 1995. It shows them finding some kind of getting chased through the woods, some kind of crazy purple thing, and then a flash forward to why are we talking about this? It was so long ago.
I will say I'm a little I'm nervous is dramatic, but I'm very
Listen.
curious as to how this is going to shake out because I feel like Don't Nod has kind of been, for me personally, all over the
Twin
place.
Mirror
like,
happened.
Yeah.
Let's not
It's
forget.
like, Yeah, what
Jusant
was Twin Mirror
happened.
good?
Tell me why it happened.
Exactly.
Wait,
It's a
I'm talking
spectrum.
about good games because I'm not even okay. Because I didn't play Twin Mirror. I did play Tell Me Why. I reviewed it for IGN. It was fine. Like it, I think it was good. Like fine, good, fine. Whatever. I played a little bit of Harmony: The Fall of Reverie. Honestly, did not like it. I don't know. And so I just don't know. And then I was shocked to see this too because, like, back when Tell Me Why came out, they were like, we don't want to be known as the Life is Strange studio. We want to move away from that. So we made a game that's exactly like Life is Strange, except it's not called Life is Strange. And I'm like, that's kind of weird, but okay. And then with Jusant and some of these other titles, even Harmony Fall of Reverie, which is story but very different stylistically and conceptually, this feels like a return to form for them. I'm like, I thought you wanted to leave the form.
They're
I'm
a
not
weird studio. Because like they also
know what
made
I mean? I don't
Vampire,
know.
and they're putting out Banishers. What is it called? Banishers: Ghosts of New Eden in the new
Yeah,
year.
what is that?
We ask that question every time it gets shown. It's like what? It's like an upcoming action role playing game.
When I look at the games page of Donut, which I do have pulled up to like remind myself, I'm like, what have they been working on?
They just
I
be
swear to
making
God,
stuff.
you could put a game that doesn't exist on here, and I'd be like, I guess they made that. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, I'm curious. I will be there for sure, but I just don't.
I'm gonna make
I'm
like a
not
new
sure how
trivia
it's gonna
game
figure
called Don't Nod or Don't Exist, where it's like, all right,
Oh
is this
my
game
God, yes,
is this
you
game
totally
real or
should.
not? Is this a Don't Nod game or did I make this game up?
It's good. I like that. I
Thank
like that
you.
a
Hell
lot.
yeah, I love it.
Janet, what are you excited about?
Well, Bless already has it written down,
Oh,
but the
okay.
EA Originals game.
Let's
is the one
go.
that-
See,
that's
me
on
and
my
Janet
bucket
are the
list.
same
Awesome.
wavelength.
That looks awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Bless, you had it typed before I did. Do you want to speak to this one a little bit? I jump in, or how
I
you
mean,
wanna do
yeah,
this?
it's like a really cool looking EA original game. It's called Zao. There's like a longer title, but like I think Zao is kind of like the main title. But yeah, it looks to be a 2D action platformer that has characters and setting and a lot of inspirations from like stuff based in Africa, which I'm all about. It's a new studio, I believe, called Surgent Studio, and the
Yeah.
game's being led by Abu Bakar. Who's like he's been in games before. I believe he was in one of the Assassin's Creed, and he's also done stuff in Hollywood. And so like really cool looking game. Almost reminds me a bit of the new Prince of Persia game that's about to come out, just in terms of like
Lost Crown.
Lost Crown, yeah, it looking just like a really cool action platformer with like a lot of vibrant colors and like if you're looking at the gameplay, right, like it looks fast paced, looks like you're dashing all over the place. It's my exact type of game, and also like just the fact that it's a game that like again is taking its inspiration and design aspects from like African culture, and like that's something that I've been asking for a while of like, yo, why don't we see more games that are based out of like, for me in Nigeria, because I'm Nigerian, right? But like just African culture in general. Like the only two that I can think of aside from this coming up are like two different Black Panther games. And so I'm like, thank God that like, they're doing that. And also shout out to it being an EA original, which, EA originals I think has been killing it. Between like, it's not always hits obviously, but like when they do hit, I think they hit really hard. Like we're talking about It Takes Two, we're talking about A Way Out, right? And the list goes on. And like also games like Wild Hearts and Immortals of Avium. And again, like they don't hit every time, but I do like
Sure.
the fact that they are trying to do these different things that you wouldn't necessarily see greenlit by like EA internally, but then also just greenlit by a lot of other big AAA studios that
It's EA,
have a lot of
hopefully,
money.
if they're doing it right, helping games that you would normally think of, oh, this is going to be some indie game.
Yeah.
But be a little bit bigger, be a little bit better, have the backing of it.
And-
They had me during the presentation when they were talking about grief. He
Mm-hmm.
talked about how this is tied up in the loss of his father and all that. And I was like, oh man, okay. That's what speaks to me rather than the gameplay, which does look great. And the setting looks awesome.
Yeah, I too was drawn to kind of the all of it, like the sum of its parts. I think the setting and the lore is really intriguing, but I love that it looks like it's backed by some quality gameplay, because I feel like we've all kind of made it clear that, we appreciate games telling like interesting stories, but also are like totally fair and fine to be critical of the gameplay as well. And I love that this could be a marriage of two really dope aspects of gaming. So I'm excited about that. Obviously the sensibilities appeal to me because it is that like 2D exploration, fast-ish traversal. Like the speed kind of does remind me of Ori, the thing I'm always going back to because man, Ori's so freaking good. And yeah, EA Originals, definitely same as you, Bless. Not all of them have been bangers to me, but there have been enough wins that I always perk up when I see, oh, this is an EA Originals title, because they've had things besides the one you've mentioned. For me, Unravel and Unravel 2 are one of it was actually, I think, the first project out of that sort of subdivision.
Yeah.
And Lost in Random, I didn't jive with it, but like the vibes and the ideas, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I felt like there was like some cool stuff there. Yeah, so I really like that EA does EA Originals. I'm forever going to be a champion of EA Originals.
I wish every
And I forever
publisher
live in
did
fear that
something like
EA
this.
Yes. And I'm like, I live in constant fear that they're like, it is with great sadness that we end our EA. I just feel like, oh my God, I hope they never end this program. And I'm
Yeah.
always worried they will. So I also love seeing this as like, boom, baby, EA Original's still going. It's still doing stuff. They're, picking and choosing projects and, working with developers. And yeah, I'm excited to see another EA Originals title out the gate. I kind of always pretty much
It's
always
also
show up
it's
for
also the
these.
fact that like EA Originals are such easy wins for them. Of hey, we're gonna help you publish this game. Hell, I don't know if they fund them. I assume they had to fund them to some extent. Maybe.
They get money for sure.
Yeah, so we're gonna fund them. We're gonna do all this stuff. And like, guess what? It Takes Two was Game of the Year at the Game Awards, and EA's name is attached to that, right? Like, how often does that happen nowadays? And I think we're getting a bit more of that out of EA. But like, EA is a publisher that historically people dunk on, people hate on because it is sports, and then Battlefields. But now
Next year, next year there's a new college football game. That's my most played game next year.
Oh yeah,
EA Sports
Ooh.
College Football. Let's fucking go.
Yeah,
Bro, the
right.
option.
Yeah, write my name down for that one. I'm excited for that. But like, now we're at a place where EA, where it is, hey, we put out Jedi, we put out Dead Space, we put out like some cool first single player games, and now we also have like these weird looking games.
We got this weird shit too.
This weird shit over here that are getting W's, and so
I know.
Yeah,
I
hope it
really
never
would
goes
love
away.
to see the narrative shift just slightly. I understand being critical of, the microtransaction nature of a lot of like the sports offerings, like even FIFA. I don't touch that stuff, but I know it exists and people get annoyed. So fair and fine. But I feel like both, and I talked about this a bit on like the Min-Max show from this week, but both EA and Ubisoft end up in this like sector of gaming where a lot of the like mainstream population, fans, gamers, whatever, are like, oh, these are places that like don't put out good stuff or stuff that I like. And when they do, it's like, oh yeah, they did that. But that's not who they are. Who they are is the thing I don't like. And I find that really frustrating from the outside looking in as someone that is a fan of so many of both EA and Ubisoft's like content that they put out respectively. Like, again, not all of it. And I'm plenty critical of the stuff that I don't like, but it's like, hey, there's some dope games coming out of here. And we just like look at those as outliers instead of an example of the height that these like publishers and developers can produce.
Yeah.
So
For me,
I don't know. That's going to be the narrative kind of forever, I think.
I think for me, it's mainly the thing of like, we hate on EA when they're down, right? Like, and I think there was an era there of EA that it was deserved because it was like, all right, we're just putting out, what's the opposite of a banger? We're just putting out meh. Like, we're putting out like, again,
Mid-city, yeah.
Mid-city. I like that. We're putting out Mid-City, right? It is fucking, again, Battlefield Hardline. Here you go. Oh, here's the new Star Wars here's Star Wars Battlefront 2 with hella loot boxes and like, sports and all that stuff. And like, I think they've done a really good job in the last few years. I think it's the thing we don't give flowers when a company when a publisher like EA is doing good. And again, I get it. Like, dude, how much do they need the flowers? They're a big AAA organization, but I think they've been doing good lately. Ubisoft, I'm not there yet. Like, Ubisoft, I think could get to that place. I go about publisher by publisher, right? Like, I think Capcom's killing it. I think Sega's doing okay, I guess. Like, it is a PlayStation. We'll see what happens in the next couple of years.
State of the Union.
Yeah, like I'll give you my impressions of every single publisher and what the state of them right now. But I think the state of EA right now, I think is looking up. I think the EA stocks are looking up.
We should do an episode next year that's like publisher Tinder, where we swipe it left or right on them.
I like this.
To make your argument why. But for now, Blessing,
Great.
to end the show, real quick, hit me with the picks this week. What came out?
Picks.
Yeah, the drop this week looks like this. You got Bear and Breakfast out December 12th. Yeah, PS5, PS4. Hammer Watch 2 for PS5. Potion Craft for PS5, PS4.
Hey.
Viewfinder for PS4. And then Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising PS5.
Wow.
and
Grand
PS4.
Blue Fantasy versus
Where do I-
Rising.
where do I
You mean
recognize
the
that
game
name?
that has an 87 on Open Critic. Ladies and gentlemen, you go to kindafunny.com/KFLeague2023 to see that I have done it. I have won the league with 163 points. I have beaten Janet with her measly 158 points. All thanks to Grand Blue Fantasy versus. Now, if Kerbal Space Program gets shit out in the next 2 weeks, I'm fucked. I'm done. I'm done so if that happens. But it looks like I've done it.
And
Janet,
they're not going to put out
you were a fierce competitor. We played it right by the rules the entire way, right to the letter, and I appreciate that.
I don't know if it was right by the
Yeah, I don't know if it was
letter.
right by the
Commissioner
letter.
endorsed all the
Definitely
trades.
wasn't.
Everything was fine.
I don't know
Our
if the
commissioner
commissioner
is
fully
corrupt.
understood what that trade was.
I mean, the commissioner
Yeah.
should do his job and do his due diligence. And again, we set rules at the beginning of the year based on what happened last
Greg
year.
is the kind of people that can run wild when you lack leadership, and I
We-
feel like that has been my experience with this league.
Hey man,
The ESPN 30
when we
for
come
30
back in
documentary will not be
2025
kind to Greg and
when
Blessing.
2024 and we do this again, you can put the rules in there. They can't have any real life trade ramifications or whatever. You can't have anything.
Does Gary Whitta understand that money doesn't get him points in this game?
Gary Whitta,
Because why did you
wasn't
trade him
here when he
$50?
drafted, nor
Gary
has
doesn't
he-
care
Dude,
about
he
in
gave
general. Like
Gary $50 in the thing.
this league is plagued with people who either don't take this game seriously or don't have any respect for the sport. And as
They're both
as
Gary.
someone that cares
They're both
about the
Gary.
sanctity of competition, you hate to see it. I think everyone lost in this, except for Greg Stans, who already lost by being a Greg Stans. So anyway,
Listen, I'm not gonna lie.
17 years of greatness.
I'm not gonna lie. When the trade was approved, right? Like we're in the middle of reviewing Starfield. I mean, like Greg requested the trade before we got Starfield, so it wasn't foul play on.
We're
his end on
right
that
in
part.
the middle of reviewing Starfield.
Yeah. Well,
Codes had been in approximately an hour. No one had turned it on
no,
yet.
but like when you requested it, when I approved the code though, it was like a week in or something like that, and like you were like, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to get Starfield from Gary," and I looked at that and I was like, "This game's about to get shit on anyway." Because
I was really hoping.
I was convinced that everybody was gonna hate Starfield based on what I played.
With all due respect, no. Me and Nick had a
Just
conversation
wild.
after it when the first blowback started, and I was like, it honestly might have been a bad deal. Like a lot of people don't like
No,
Starfield. I might have
yeah.
fucked myself, but I didn't.
But
I won
yeah,
it
I guess
all.
Grand Blue was a good game. So there you go.
Thank you,
What are you
everybody.
gonna do?
I gotta play Rambloo apparently.
A good video game? I was like, who could have predicted that?
Ladies and gentlemen, I did it. I'm your champion, and I'll be a just God. Thank you for joining us for this episode of PS I Love You XOXO. Remember, of course, this is KindaFunny's PlayStation podcast and your PlayStation stopping point. Come on in here. Talk to us about trophies, your wrap up, whatever you want. What's your favorite DualSense?
I like the edge.
Who knew they could track that? They
Yeah,
knew
the
what
colors
color
of
you're
them-
using.
That's kind of weird, actually. It's kind of crazy.
Of course, you can get it on patreon.com/kindafunny. You can watch this recorded there ad-free. You can get it ad-free on demand. You could watch it live as we record it, just like my dog Nick96, Cameron Kennedy, and Jeffrey Kirby. However, if you have no bucks our way over on patreon.com/kindafunny, you can get it for free on youtube.com/kindafunny games and podcast services around the globe. We'll be back next week with our final show of the year, our PlayStation Awards, our annual PlayStation Awards. But until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.